Hello, good evening and welcome to the program. This is Sunday Politics on Trust TV. I'm Abdullahi Ahmed. Nigeria's political landscape is again in a flux. As the countdown to 2027 begins, the major political parties are facing internal tremors that are reshaping alliances, leadership structures, and perhaps the very future of democracy in Nigeria. From the ruling party grappling with power tussles to opposition camps battling legitimacy crisis, the undercurrents of internal wranglings are now impossible to ignore. This week, the crisis within the New Nigeria People's Party, the NNPP, took a dramatic turn as the Federal Capital Territory High Court in Abuja dismissed a suit filed by the faction loyal to former Kano State Governor Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, challenging the legitimacy of the party's national convention. In a landmark ruling, the court reaffirmed the authenticity of the Dr. Boniface Okechukwu-led Board of Trustees and Dr. Major Agbor-led National Executive, dealing a significant blow to the Kwankwaso camp. Now, what does this ruling mean for the NNPP moving forward? And how are similar leadership struggles within other political parties reshaping the political calculus ahead of the next general election? Tonight, we explore those realignments, court battles, and behind-the-scenes power plays driving the next chapter of Nigeria's democratic journey. And to help us navigate some of these issues, we're joined by the National Chairman of the NNPP, Dr. Agbor Major. Good evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us in the program.
Thanks for having me.
Is it fair to say congratulations are in order?
Well, that's what you should say. You owe me that because the journey has been quite hectic. But at the end of it all, here we are. We now have a stable NNPP.
Is it over?
Well, in politics, it's not always over. It's a continuous thing because the beauty of democracy is for people to keep disagreeing. But we expect from our side that it should be over because the chicken has come home to roost. And so we believe that the time to begin to rebuild is now. And so we expect that they should key into what the court has said so that the party can breathe its fresh air, and then we prepare for 2027.
As you can imagine, if you zoom out of what's happening in the NNPP, you realize that there are common denominators in other political parties. This week alone, the Supreme Court had given yet another ruling that is still reverberating across the rank and file of one of the major opposition parties, the Labour Party, for instance, right? And yours also just made it into the news this week. Give me a sense of what all of these developments signpost for Nigeria's political growth and Nigeria's democracy.
The key thing there is, well, for those of you who are journalists, who probably are not active politicians on the field, you will know that the beauty of democracy is the power to disagree to agree. In fact, if you have it seamless, if you have it crisis-free, it's not democracy. People have to, keep disagreeing, because politics is all about interests, and these interests most times vary. So what you are seeing happening within the political parties is the real essence of democracy, because people have to continue to push for their interests. Some of these interests could be selfish, some of these interests could be collective. But like I said, if you have everybody on one queue, that's not democracy. What makes it democracy is that if you have 10, 2 could be this side, 5 could be the other side, 3 could be at the other side. At the end of the day, there would be a reason for them to meet at a common point, and that is what makes it democracy. And when you have situations like that, whatever are the decisions arrived on will always turn out to be very robust, very acceptable decisions, because people have disagreed over the process that led to that decision, that final decision. And so what you are seeing within the political parties is the beauty of it. But your worry, which is also my worry, is that this would have come immediately after the elections, so that there would be enough time for the parties to be able to recover from what seemingly would have what it takes, the strength to tear the party apart, to tear its membership apart, to also tear the diverse interests apart. But unfortunately, it's coming over 2 years after the election, and then 2 years into the next election cycle. So it's worrisome. But like I said, what is important is people have to disagree. At the end of the day, they have a way of coming together, because politics itself and political party itself is an aggregation of interest. So what it means is that any party that is unable to recover from a crisis within a short period is not a party. It means ab initio, that party never had in its fold people who think along the same line.
Yeah, Doctor, a lot of people, question this statement by politicians who always normalize internal wranglings like this, that we see other developed democracies, and while there may be disagreements about how a particular party should be run, these disagreements don't often lead to litigations, for instance. Give me a sense of what this particular development says about this lack of realignment within one particular political party. I mean, the Supreme Court in its ruling admonished, in the case of the Labour Party, for instance, said if only political parties would play by the rules it set for itself in its own constitutions, we wouldn't be having all of these problems. So
the missing link is there, and until we say it, a lot of Nigerians wouldn't know. There are other inbuilt, procedures within which political party crises are resolved. Like we have the alternative dispute resolution alternative, which is available for parties to explore. Unfortunately, if we don't mention it like I'm mentioning it now, most Nigerians will not know that there's an opening like that. But in other democracies, like you rightly have said, you hardly hear of conventional litigations going on in conventional courts. This is because the internal crises within the political parties are resolved using other machineries. But in Nigeria, we close our eyes to all the other opportunities, all the other openings available for parties to be able to, look at what is happening within it, to be able to resolve their differences and all of that. A lot of Nigerians will not know that in INEC, there is an internal dispute, an alternative dispute resolution unit. Its job is to be able to bring parties together in the event that there is crisis within any particular political party. You create room for the parties in dispute, the feuding parties, to be able to come together to say, okay, these are our areas of dispute. How do we smoothen it? At the end of the day, what would be our agreements and all of that? It is silent because we're not exploring it the way it is done in other democracies.
Because
in Nigeria, the belief is you move to court. The next thing is once there is a disagreement, you move to court. And so it is loud that parties are in court and quiet that parties have an alternative way of resolving their internal crisis. But in all, they are all the same thing. The only difference is that the court is a conventional setup, while the ADR is just an arrangement to provide an opportunity for you to be able to resolve your differences. In the event that you are unable to resolve it, you can move to the next level, which is the court.
Do we need to rethink the approach to the ADR, this alternative dispute resolution, because it looks like it's not working?
That's what I'm saying. It's quiet. It has been there in existence in INEC for well over 15 years. Yes, something is wrong.
Yeah.
Something is wrong. And I think Nigerians should be asking INEC this question. What is happening to the ADR unit? At least I've been around the corner in active party administration for the past 25 years. And I do know that all along, there've been an ADR unit in INEC. Are they doing their job? Look at, for instance, what the Abia High Court settled. The crisis that erupted within the NNPP that the Abia High Court settled in November, and then the FCT High Court just sealed. This is a crisis that wouldn't have, survived even a week if the ADR was up to its onions, doing what is right. Because it's a matter of saying, okay, there's a dispute. Some people came into your party today. They are fighting you. They met you there. They are fighting you. What is the problem? Put everybody on the desk. Put one the other side. Put one this side. Let them face themselves, and then see what can happen out of it. But that opportunity was never provided. And so the only thing that we could do as law-abiding political party and law-abiding citizens was to move to court, And that's why you've seen retinue of cases in the NNPP, since 2023, that this whole crisis started. Of course, Kwankwaso and his team, the Kwankwasia group, have taken us through a lot of courts. They took us to Kano State High Court. They started this whole court thing. They took us to Kano State High Court, where they moved fraudulently even up to the level of trying to commit us into prison using Form 48 and 49, unknown to us. It was when the court discovered that it was being misled that the court pulled out. They took us also to another court in Katsina, where in their usual style, they came with a lot of things that were not correct and all of that, and the court said, no, you don't bring this to us. So they started it. We now said, okay, if they are doing this, it means they're not interested in ensuring that there's peace within the party. We now had to move. We moved to Abia High Court, where the court said, no, we will not allow this to happen within your party. Your constitution says when there's a problem, the BOT takes over to resolve it and all of that. And the court made a very loud decision that the Board of Trustees of the party led by Dr. Anebunam should take over the party and ensure that all crises within the party are resolved and all of that. And then finally, this same FCT High Court that is the subject of discourse today, they were the ones that took us there. They took us there. And today, it's just like using hammer to hit that child that is so recalcitrant, the child that believes that all he or she needs to do is to keep troubling the father. They took us there, and they have gotten the hammer. And that is the situation as it is now.
So let's talk about this particular civil war within the NNPP. Obviously, as far as the legal quagmire is concerned, it's been victory after victory for your camp, so to say. Talk to me about this factionalization of political parties, especially parties in the opposition, for instance. It's not quite unique to the NNPP. The Labour Party has been dealing with it, continues to deal with it. The PDP has multi-layered challenges that is dealing with right now. How would you characterize what you're dealing with? I know we've had several conversations about this on this particular platform and many other platforms, but how would you characterize the cause of the problem and what would look like a solution going forward?
So those who are not active party administrators and who are not active politicians on the field, they see crisis within political parties as a misnomer. But to those of us who are on the field, we know that it's a normal thing. It helps you to realign. If you don't disagree, you won't be able to situate exactly what the problems were that led to that disagreement. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, and I'm sure viewers are also following us, following the flow of this discourse. What I can tell you is that it is not democracy if everybody is on one queue. I've made this statement about 2 times today since we started this program.
So you don't think it's dysfunctional, you think it's functional?
Yes, it's a normal thing.
Infighting is functional, it's good for democracy.
It is a normal thing because politics is about interest. And like I said, interest could be selfish, it could be collective. So in every political party, you have people who want to promote selfless interest, which is collective interest. You also have people who want to promote selfish interest, which is just a design to ensure that they are comfortable. That's the situation we had in our party, where we had a group that came in, and because we gave them room to operate freely, they just felt that, okay, we can do this, we can do that, unchallenged. That is the same thing, the same drama you are seeing in other political parties. I'm not talking about external interference now. We will come to that. But what I'm saying is that within the party rank and file itself, there are always camps, 2 camps, basically. One camp is, okay, what is the collective interest of our party? How do we sustain its, what do I call it, peace? What do we do to ensure that the party remains cohesive? There are, the other camp is, okay, what do we do to ensure that the party works in consonance with our selfish interest, which is not the collective interest? When you have situations like that, the difference is bound to come. And that's what we are seeing in most of these political parties. But what is important is, does the party have a good internal shock-absorbing mechanism to deal with these challenges? Every party knows that people must always disagree. Any party that tells you it will be Uhuru all through, that party is not a party. Maybe its functionaries, those leading the party, do not even know what a political party is. You should always expect that this thing will come. And that's why at the end of every election cycle, you see a lot of crisis. People will come to say, okay, this thing happened during the election, we're not comfortable with it, we need a probe, and so on and so forth. Maybe one or two of those who sought to have tickets didn't get it. They can go and prop up something and say, okay, we didn't get ticket because of this, because of that. These things throw spanners into the works, and you will see crisis erupting within the political parties. What is important is, are the parties able to recover from this as fast as they should? as an institution. So what I'm trying to let you know and let viewers know is that nobody should see crisis within political parties as anything that could extinguish the party. What is important is that this crisis would come, and at the end of the day, people will disagree, and then they will always return to agree. And when they agree, everybody who was part of that agreement, who disagreed initially but later came to agree, are bound by those agreements. And that's the beauty of democracy.
Right. Let's talk about this quote-unquote transactional relationship that appears to become the trend or the norm, so to say, in our polity today, where we see some of these larger-than-life political characters or personalities that join a political party, and all of a sudden the stock of the party, you know, goes up to the roof. And after the political parties go through the hurdles of an election, things begin to fall apart. Case in point, what you're having right now with the NNPP and what you have with the Labour Party also. You're dealing with the golden goose here. In your case, the Kwankwaso group, or Rabi Musa Kwankwaso himself, Senator Rabi Musa Kwankwaso. What exactly is the aim from your side? Are you trying to maintain the integrity of the party with or without Kwankwaso, or are you trying to fix things with, you know, the people on the other side?
Fixing things, as far as the life of a political party is concerned, is not an absurd. It's not what anybody should see as an impossible thing. But you only fix things if the parties are able to reason, you know, and are able to work towards the collective interest of the party. We have a situation in our hands where it is obvious that the people we took in are not ready. We have people who are self-centered, who believe that they are everything, and so they should determine what happens within the party. We have repeatedly said this on air, across all TV stations in this country, including yours, repeatedly. It was alien to the party. The party never knew that. NNPP, as a political party, existed for 21 solid years. If I am permitted to say 21 and a half years. Before they came. This party never suffered deregistration even for 1 minute. At the point, there were a total of 91 political parties in this country when Professor Atahiru Jega was chairman of NNPP. Chairman of INEC. In one full sweep, he took out 60-something, and then after about 2-3 more days, he took out another 4 or thereabout, reducing us to 30-something. Professor Mahmoud inherited 30-something political parties. And after the 2015 general election, as envisaged by the Constitution and the Electoral Act, where it is clear that the role of every political party is to field candidates and win election, and that at the end of every election cycle, if you are unable to win election, you could get delisted. He also did what he needed to do, which reduced us to 18. Now 19, because another party came in through the pronouncement of the court, making it now 19. So, I'm trying to let you know that parties have this statutory role of winning elections. If you don't win, you go. Now, where we are today as a party, we were there for 21 and a half years before they came. Yes, we have never disputed the fact that they added value. They came with their Kwankwaso team. Remember that in politics, any value added is value, whether it is nuisance value or positive value or whatever. What is important is, does that man have a PVC to be able to drop a vote on the election day? That's what is crucial. Whether the person has psychological instability, whether he has mental instability, whether he is undecided, whether he is a blind follower, like we eventually got to see from the Kwankwaso group. What is important is, okay, what value has he to add? They came, we took them in, they had their way, we gave them all that they needed to be able to operate freely, which is what they tried to abuse before we came out to say this is not possible. So what I'm trying to let you understand and let viewers understand is that the added value, there's no doubt about that. But when you turn the value you have added to nuisance, you are unable to cash in and take advantage of the mileage that you have gained. And what you think you should do is to throw confusion into the camp so that the party can go down. That's no longer value. And that was the point at which we disagreed with them. What you are seeing in other political parties too is because of that. Because people come, we have this tendency as Nigerians to want to follow individuals, which is what you are trying to say. And let me tell you, it is not, it is a deliberate thing because our leaders have worked, diligently towards that all along to ensure that the people remain permanently impoverished so that whenever they need you, they just say, okay, this is the queue, follow it, and you stay on that queue. Even if the mosquitoes come to bite you, you have no right to shake until you have done that they expect you to do before you can shake to try to drive away the mosquitoes. That was what Kwankwaso brought. He came with his Kwankwasia team. Today we have a governor. Today we have senators. But where are the senators today? They are in disagreement with him because of his overbearing attitudes. Today we have about 17 or 18 House of Reps members. Where are they? Where are the likes of Ali Madaki, the deputy minority leader of the House of Reps? Where is Al-Hassan Rurum? Where are all these people? They are in disagreement with him because of his overbearing attitudes. There is nothing wrong with coming to join a political party and adding value because of the numerical strength you have. But after doing that, what is important for you as a leader is, are you able to, take advantage of what you have been able to rescue, what you have been able to rake in as a result of that numerical strength to ensure that you are making progress? Yeah. The answer is no. Yeah. That's not what we saw in the party.
But doctor, if you have to be circumspect and to balance things out, right? If you have to put it on a scale, you talk about adding value. Yes, you won elections. Yes, their popularity worked for you at some point. If you have to put it on a scale, the good versus the bad, which one do you think outweighs the other? If you have to be fair.
I have made this statement just a few seconds ago that it will be unfair on my part to say they have no added value. But it will also be unfair on my part to say that the party they came to join survived for 22 years without winning elections. The party was winning elections before they came. The only thing is that the number that we eventually have now was not what we had before they came, but we were already on the winning ways. So it would not be fair for me to say that they have not done what is right or they didn't add value, like I said, to answer you directly. It will also not be fair for me to say that the party wouldn't have made progress without them because we're already making progress. So they came, they added value. There's no doubt about that. But what is the result of the value? That's just what we're talking about.
You used the word recalcitrant earlier, and that is very suggestive of a dying relationship. And, I don't know if you've forgotten to answer the question, but if you have to choose between saving the party's integrity and making things work with the Kwankwaso group, can you do both? Or if you have to choose, which one would you choose?
I don't know what you are talking about integrity here. When you are talking about the point of disagreement between us and them has to do with integrity. They brought a lot of things that are alien to the party, which tarnished the integrity of the party. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. The party was known for fairness. The party was known for being a platform that was available to everybody, irrespective of economic or political disadvantages. The party was known for being there for those who probably were not able to run to PDP or APC to buy tickets to be able to run for election for 100 million, 200 million. Our party was there for them to come and say, okay, we don't have. And we will say, we know that you don't have, but because we have done due diligence on you, you're acceptable to your people, go and run. The party was known for all of that. But when they came, and because of the room we gave to them to operate, they changed, they torpedoed everything. And then began to work towards dragging the name of the party into disrepute. So when you are talking of reputation, I am telling you that the party enjoyed very soft an unquestionable reputation for 21 years, heading towards 22 years before they came. They are the ones that deliberately tried to drag the party's name into disrepute. How did they do that? I have enumerated that repeatedly here. They did so many things. They tried to impose candidates. They took the situation room of the party from the National Secretariat, where candidates who had gone through primaries were supposed to be uploaded. Kwankwaso took it to his house in Metama, where he was uploading his cronies and Kwankwasia members, leaving out those who went through the rigors of participating in primaries. That was not known to the party. Nothing destroys a party like absence of internal democracy. I'm sure you know that. You are not a party administrator, but as a journalist, this is a recurring word that you should be used to. The quickest way for a party to die is for it not to be able to maintain internal democracy. What he brought was complete absence of internal democracy. We are talking, and when you move towards other areas like finance, what happened to the finance of the party? He came and planted people, all the monies raked in from sale of firms and all of that. Where is the money today? Why is EFCC looking at our accounts today? It's because these funds were mismanaged. He created a campaign account. Ordinarily, that would have been unacceptable because once you become candidate of a party, everything you do as that candidate is monitored directly by the party because you are not running on your own. You are running based on the programs of the party. But he did all these things and nobody bothered. And today, the party is where it is. And somebody is talking of reputation. I think they are the ones that have tried to bring this party into disrepute. I can tell you that.
So you think the NNPP would be better off without them?
I have told you that
if they have to leave today,
they are gone. Not that if they have to leave, they are gone. They are gone. I'm telling you, by virtue.
I mean, have they officially left the party?
Are you expecting an enemy to come and tell you he has left? These are enemies now because they don't believe in the survival of the party. They throw what they try to do is to ensure that the party is extinguished. So they are enemies of the party and its programs. They are gone and gone. We don't expect them to come and tell us they are gone. But by virtue of recent court pronouncements, and more are coming, because we have a lot of matters everywhere, even at the level of appeal. There are matters everywhere that are awaiting decisions. They are gone and gone. You may not know, but I'm the one telling you that these people are gone. So if this party survived the registration, I gave you a history of how it has been all this while. At a point, 91 political parties, over 7-something went down. All Jega did the registration. Mahmoud also did. NNPP was never deregistered. Have you asked yourself why it was never deregistered? You're basically saying you can survive this conquest. That's what I'm telling you.
Okay. All right. In hindsight, right? Or at least looking back at what has been a tumultuous past 1 year plus for the NNPP, what lessons would you say you have learned so far?
Well, there are not issues that we'll put forward here, but maybe to just try to encapsulate and then give you an idea of how we feel. We have seen deceit. These are people who have further strengthened the belief of certain people that politicians cannot be trusted. You know, we took these people in good faith. The founder of the party, Dr. Boniface Okechukwu Aneburam, during our last meeting in his country home in Oka, said, I will allow you to operate freely. And they left there happy, only for them to turn after a few months against this same old innocent man. So we have learned that those Nigerians who believe that politicians should never be trusted, you know, should not be disregarded completely. They have a point, because that's what people like Buba Galadima, people like Rabi Musa Kwankwaso have turned out to further exemplify. And it's worrisome because those of us who are in this politics now, we have nowhere to go to again. At least I'm heading towards 60 years now. So where else am I going to? You know, this is where I'm going to end. And so it is worrisome that some people, some elements would come to give politicians this level of bad names, instead of forced to try to, you know, take away misconceptions of the ordinary people about what politicians are. What Buba Galadima and Senator Rabi Musa Kwankwaso have come to do is to strengthen their conclusion that politicians cannot be trusted. So we have learned our lessons from that side. We have also learned that all organs of the party should be up working, because by the provisions of our constitution, if not for the trust that the founder and the BOT chairman had for them, if he were to have blown the whistle from the beginning to exercise his authority by the provisions of the party's constitution, they wouldn't have even had any room to go even half of where they went to. So all organs of every political party should be up working. We also have seen that people who come to laugh with you at that time are not really your friends. You may not be familiar with what happened, but I can tell you that a couple of people that came with us from the old NNPP that admitted the Kwankwaso people to come in also sold out, except a few of us who said, no, we cannot do this, that this has to do with our integrity. A lot of them sold out, the likes of Dikpo Olayoku. And then just as I was walking in here, I saw what the founder posted, where a state chairman, that is my boy, that I brought. And at a point, the same Kwankwaso wanted him out. He wanted his head cut off. I was the one that gave him everything he needed to survive. And today, yes, he told me something when the crisis started as a reason why he was not going to go with me. He pledged his loyalty and his prayers for me, but said, for one reason, not for you, but for one other person, I won't be able to go with you. You know, but today, just a while ago, I saw the founder of the party, he posted it. It was even a front line, the front page, this thing on the newspaper, where he said that the founder remains expelled from the party. This is a man who has been with us before the Kwankwaso people came, and he knows that the founder of the party, by the provisions of our constitution, was not even supposed to be denied membership even for 1 minute.
Right.
You know, so we have learned a whole lot of lessons. If we have to discuss them, I'm sure that this 1 hour is not enough.
Okay. Moving on, clearly ahead of 2027, you know, there are a lot of big name politicians who are either disgruntled or not sitting comfortably on their own, in their own political parties. And for some reason, Nigerian politics is always built around big personalities. I mean, the political parties have to play a very significant role in, you know, selling the manifesto, selling the candidate, and so on and so forth. But I think things have, you know, been interchanged so far. You need a big name, so to say, to get your name out there. For visibility's sake, are you looking to any of these big names joining you?
I'm going to attempt to answer you from two perspectives. The first is my personal perspective. If you leave it to me, I've never been an aluta person, but I am a die-hard, truth-saying person. I say it the way it is, without fear of anybody. I fear nobody in this country. You know, I say it as plain and blunt as it should be. In fact, when I go to some TVs, especially those owned by government, they will say, please, we know you, sir. I beg, you need to save our jobs and all of that. I'm saying this because I know that Trust TV does not belong to government, and the truth has to be said here. I don't believe, and I'm sure that there are a lot of Nigerians now looking at the excruciating hunger, the pains everywhere. Nigerians now know that this style of politicking around names of individuals who have amassed so much wealth from our common patrimony and using it to their advantage, driving us and pushing us the way they want to push us. To me, I think their days are numbered. If you look at the flow now, if you listen to Nigerians, you will see that it's no longer business as usual. Those who believe that this thing has to be done around individual names, big names, they will be shocked by 2027. And that's why even when this arrangement started about this SDP stuff, when they were doing all sorts of things, El-Rufai went out of his way to say on air publicly that the crisis in most opposition political parties is funded and fueled by government. And I was the first to let him know that I wouldn't have had any reason to respond to what he said, but because he specifically mentioned NNPP. NNPP is a party that is not owned by money bags. As a matter of fact, the first attempt we made at bringing in a name, a major name into the party, is what has turned to be very fatal now under Kwankwaso. Kwankwaso is the first major name that we have brought. The party, like I said, has always belonged to the ordinary people. And these ordinary people have rallied around themselves.
You're going to go back to your organic roots and just...
That is the takeoff point. Because my belief as a person, I've not gone to the party side yet, my belief as a person is that until we do away with these people who have ruined the country and ruined our economy and brought us to where we are for their own personal and selfish, reasons, we will not make progress. That is my personal view. The view of the party, I am only the chairman. And like you rightly have said or alluded to, you need these big names to be able to move on. So I won't be surprised if in a meeting we begin to look at how we are going to go in 2027. I won't be surprised if a couple of people will begin to say, for now, the status quo is the way it is. We need to look for one or two big names to be able to walk around with and all of that until the system changes and adapts to getting parties to be able to work without these big names. I won't be surprised. And when that happens, I'm only the chairman, and it is democracy at work. If the view of other leaders of the political party is that we should go for one or two or three, four big names, we won't hesitate to do that.
Is the party also...
But what we will not do is to do it around one person, like we did around Kwankwaso in 2023, that has made the party unstable.
All right. Is the party also open? I know I mentioned this to you earlier, a couple of weeks ago. Is the party also open to the merger or coalition talks that have been gaining some momentum recently?
Well, it's good that you said you mentioned this, and I'm sure I gave you an answer that day. And my answer will not change.
Conclusive.
My answer will not change. I can tell you that people have to agree in politics if what we need, and we've seen it work before now. The APC government was enthroned because parties had to come together to be able to confront the incumbent PDP then. I don't believe in that. But the status quo, the way it is, and the system, the way it is programmed, gives room for something like that to happen. That has now gone into the psyche of Nigerians that until you come together, you won't be able to dislodge these people. Yeah. That is where they are going to again now in 2027. It's not good for our democracy because it doesn't work anywhere.
But do you realistically think it's the only way out of this?
It shouldn't.
If there is a chance to beat the Tinubu administration, do you think one political party can do it?
If the party puts its acts together and does what it should do as a political party, it is possible. Let me tell you why people think it is not possible. Our polity is heavily monetized. So people believe that power of incumbency is a major determining factor as to who wins elections in this country. I know that at a point, in collaboration with some foreign agencies who funded it and all of that, we tried to impute some major decisions into the Constitution through the platform of the Interparty Advisory Council, which I was part of its formation. And I was even the spokesman for the group at a point. One of the things we said is that the incumbency factor is an advantage. Why are we not looking at what happens if you are running for election, for instance, you are incumbent, you want to run again? What do we do to strip you of some of the advantages you have? You see them flying around with government planes, fueling them with government money, distributing government money across stadia around the country, buying up votes and all of that. So until we're able to deal with those teething factors, and those factors all culminate into one major reason. That reason is the power of incumbency. So that has become heavily institutionalized. So the question now is to dislodge it. What do you do? The two options are that it is either we go constitutionally to look at what I'm telling you now, How do you take certain advantages away from this man so that he won't have undue advantage over his rival candidates? If that does not work, it means the second alternative is coalition.
Right.
I don't like hearing merger, but I like hearing.
You think you
coalition.
lose your identity in a merger?
When you talk about merger, it's automatic loss of identity. Your certificates go in. And at the end of the day, if you make that a major way to go, and you reduce our political parties maybe to 2, 3 in this country, in a country of close to 300 million people, are you doing any service to our democracy?
Some would say the United States has come a long way. With
How many parties
two major
are
political parties?
Major. How many parties are minor there? There are minor political parties there.
Well, but they're obscure.
But they are winning elections at the lower level.
Right.
But we are talking of a situation where you lose your identity in Nigeria, you cease to be a political party. So at the end of the day, there are only 2 major and minor political parties. No minor political parties, 2 major, 2 minor. Is that a service to our democracy or a disservice?
So in terms of coalition, let's talk about a hypothetical situation right now, because you do know the man, Rabbi Musa Kwankwaso, is politically relevant in so many of these mathematics and permutations that we've been listening to, or that has been, put out there in public. Will that make or mar the decision for the NNPP to be a part of a coalition? Because you say you're not working towards any merger.
I don't know
if
why
you have to work with a coalition where Kwankwaso is in the mix, will that be a deal breaker for you?
In the midst of what?
As part of the people that you have to work with
Coming from where? Coming from the NNPP platform or from the other side?
You have to work with him again.
Have you asked yourself all the coalition arrangements that you are reading and seeing as a journalist? Have you asked yourself whether any of those groups have had a reason to invite Kwankwaso to any of their meetings?
I mean, surely he's definitely within the orbit of the conversation. You can't dismiss that he is a part of the conversation.
I am saying he's not, emphatically. Where are your records that he has been invited to any of these coalition meetings? El-Rufai has come out clearly to tell you, okay, we want to work with this. Did you see Kwankwaso mentioned there?
But he also didn't say that we don't want to work with Kwankwaso.
Will they tell you? I'm speaking to you as a party administrator. You are speaking to me as a journalist. I am telling you that...
You're making him look like a pariah, that nobody wants to work with him.
Well, I don't want to talk about him as a person, but I'm telling you that whether we like it or not, he has crippled himself politically. Looking at his antecedents from the PDP, where he completely crippled the Northwest leadership of the party. I'm sure you know. Trust newspaper, Trust Group is a northern platform. So you are familiar with what I'm talking about. He crippled it. What he does is, when he gets to a place, he tries to take advantage of the structure, so that when it is time to crush decisions or crush arrangements, it is easy for him. He did that to PDP. He got thrown out from PDP. He went to APC. Buba Galadima did that to PDP. He got thrown out. He went to join his colleague, Kwankwaso, in APC. And see, there's an English adage that says, once bitten, twice shy. So if I know your antecedents, I can tell you that it will be difficult for anybody to make me believe that I have to give you another chance. Especially going by the fact that it is not just once you've done it. You've done it twice, 3 times. Nobody will believe in you. So don't let me talk about Kwankwaso as a person.
I think you've said more than enough already, Mr. National Chairman. But just to answer the question, you're not looking forward to working with him in any way?
Wherever
possible.
we meet him, we will
avoid him. I hate that I had to complete that statement for you. But let's talk about the zero-sum game nature of our politics, right? Where there are always winners and losers, and there's no in-between where, listen, you can have a better argument and then we can find a way to work with that or make concessions and things like that. Do you think that this is in any way, shape or form moving the needle in the right direction for our democratic governance and for our political experiment? Because Nigeria's democracy has come under a lot of criticism lately from political figures like the former president Olusegun Obasanjo, political opposition figures like Peter Obi who question its virality as well as its quality in terms of delivering the dividends of democracy to the people. What do you make of some of these aspects that make Nigerians really doubt the need for them to come out on election day and select their leaders or elect their leaders?
Nigerians have lost hope on the power of their choices. Now, why am I telling you this? To answer you, during when the window for constitutional amendment under Goodluck Jonathan opened, I led the then 63 political parties into a conference at Benue Hotels in Makurdi, where we were to sit down and come out with what we felt would enrich our electoral process to be imputed into the amendment process that was going on. UNDP, then DGD2, as it was called, actively supported it. We also made some external trips as leaders of IPAC. We went to Kenya, we went to South Africa, we went to some few countries to understudy how their own democracy worked and is still working. And we came back with a takeaway. That takeaway was that the greatest undoing of our democracy is the winner-take-all syndrome. Remember where we started this conversation from. In democracy, if there's no room for disagreements, decisions reached can never be robust and acceptable across board. So when you have a winner-takes-all situation, you don't expect anything good to come, which is what we're facing today. We suggested that what we called first past the post be imputed into our constitution. Now, what does that mean? In an election, yes, for instance, APC has won the seat. What did PDP score to come second? What did NNPP score to come third? What did Labour Party score to come fourth? The fact that PDP, NNPP, Labour Party did not win is not a reason for you to think they didn't have the capacity to win. They would have won. Now, what do you do? On the strength of the votes they garnered, give them an opportunity to participate in government at that level. So, based on their scores, form a government of unity, bring them in. So that the ideas embedded in the manifesto of NNPP, the ideas embedded in the manifesto of Labour Party, the ideas embedded in the manifesto of the PDP would be brought to the fore to work hand in hand with the ideas embedded in the manifesto of the APC that won. We would have had a very robust arrangement. It was thrown out. It never saw the light of the day. Go to South Africa, that's what happens. Go to Kenya, that's what happens.
You usually have,
even in Ghana here.
You usually have a coalition government as opposed to, some of these ideas. But we also do have the president or the administration handpick one or two people from some of.
That's not what we're saying.
You're saying it should be a constitutional provision.
It should be a constitutional provision one. Yeah, it should be a constitutional provision one based on the percentage of scores garnered in an election one. It shouldn't be the prerogative of the president to select who he wants. So if the president sent me to NNPP to go and represent him, and he decides to select me, it is a one-way stuff. The party should be the one doing it based on the percentage of votes it has scored as a party in that election. That's what we're talking about. It's a constitutional thing.
Okay. All right. And I think that is on a very good note for us to draw the curtains for tonight's conversation. A very interesting take on some of the developments within the NNPP, but more importantly, Nigeria's political landscape. Dr. Agbor Major, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
It's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much.
And as always, thank you very much for your time and company. Thank you for joining us on this edition of the program. We'll be back tomorrow with Daily Politics live at 8 p.m. Until next time, I'm Abdullahi Ahmed. For myself and the rest of the team, thank you for joining us and good evening.